Okay guys, this is the video about radians and degrees. So radians and degrees are both angle measures, and degrees are the ones that you're probably familiar with. You know, like a full circle is 360 degrees, a half of a circle is 180, and radians are just a different way of measuring. So a radian is the angle made when the radius is wrapped around the circle. So radians don't change based on how big the circle is, just like degrees, because you take the radius and you wrap it around the circle, and that's what a radian is. So I'm going to show you this video about what a radian is. So you take the radius, you wrap it around, and that is 1 radian. So it says right here that 1 radian is about 57.2958 degrees, and that's true for any circle. And that's because of this. You take the radius, you just wrap it around, and that is 1 radian. And then right here, this one, it's going to take 1 radian, and to get to half of the circle, it's 3.14159 ... radians. So you have 1, 2, 3, and then the 0.1416 radian, which is pi radians, so 180 degrees. So all the way around the circle, so halfway around the circle is pi, all the way around the circle would be 2 pi. And it's, like I said, it's just a different way of measuring the angle around a circle. Yeah, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go through some examples of converting radians to degrees and degrees to radians, because sometimes you'll need radians and sometimes you'll need degrees. So our first examples, we're going to go from radians to degrees. And the way you do that is you take the radians, you multiply it by 180 degrees divided by pi, and that's going to give you the degree measure. And the reason why we do that is because pi radians is the same thing as 180 degrees. So if we take our radian, multiply it by 180 degrees, and divide it by pi, that takes the pi out, and it gives us the, like, whatever the radian was in degrees. So our first example is if the radian measure was pi halves. So what we do is we take 180 degrees divided by pi. So these 2 pi's cancel, and we're left with 180 divided by 2, which is 90. And if you think about a circle, half of a circle, that's 180 degrees, or we just said that it was pi. So if we take that and divide it in 2, that would be 90 degrees, or pi halves. So we have 90 degrees and pi halves, that's the same thing. 80 degrees and pi, that's the same. 360 degrees and 2 pi, those are the same, they're just in different units. The next example is negative 11 pi sixth. So this would be in radians. So we take it, we do 180 divided by pi. The pi's cancel. So we're going to take negative 11 sixths times 180. And I'm just going to type that in on my Desmos scientific calculator. So we have negative 11 sixths times 180. That tells us right here that it is negative 330 degrees. Okay, our next one And this is our last example for converting radians to degrees, is -3 pi fourths. So if you want to pause this and try this example and see if you can get the right answer, that'd be great. So what we do is we take this and we multiply by 180 degrees divided by pi. The pi's cancel, so we get -3/4 times 180. So we have -3/4 times 180. That tells us that it is -135. So that is converting from radians to degrees. Now we're going to go from degrees to radians. So what we do is we take our degrees and we do the opposite. Instead of wanting to take out the pi, we need to add in a pi. So we're going to multiply by pi divided by 180. And that's going to give us our answer in radians. So our first example is 120 degrees. So what we do is we take that, we multiply by pi divided by 180 degrees. And on this, if we take 120 divided by 180, this tells us that it's 0.66666, repeating forever. But if we hit this little fraction button, it'll tell us that it's 2/3. So our answer here is 2/3, but we also have to have the pi in there. So it would be 2 pi thirds. Okay, our next example is 1005 degrees. So we take our degree measure, we multiply by pi over 180. And so I'm going to do 105 divided by 1005 divided by 180. And if we hit that fraction button, that tells us that it is 67/12. So our answer is 67 pi twelfths. And then our last example is -430 degrees. So if you want to pause this and try this example, go for it. So what we do is we take pi divided by 180. I'm going to type that into my calculator. So we have -430 divided by 180. And we want that as a fraction. So we have -43/18. So our answer is -43 pi 18ths. Okay, and then you'll have a homework assignment on this, and there will be some of these questions on the circle review quiz and the test.